Welcome back. My consequence catalyzing force. Something absolutely extraordinary just occurred that has everyone experiencing profound miscalculation revelation when observers initially underestimated your capacity, believing you posed minimal threat. This fundamental misjudgment triggered cascading consequences so severe that universal recognition of the error became inevitable, creating unprecedented situation where collective underestimation transformed entire systems, making silence descend as observers confronted magnitude of their miscalculation, proving that some misjudgments operate through catastrophic revelation, where underestimating power creates transformative consequences. This wasn't you gradually proving capabilities or slowly demonstrating strength over extended periods. This was instantaneous consequence manifestation, where underestimation triggered events severe that everyone simultaneously recognized the error, making collective awareness of miscalculation create universal silence as observers processed implications, proving that deepest revelations operate through catastrophic recognition. The architects have been monitoring underestimation consequences and collective revelation phenomena across civilizations for eons, and they've identified what you created as miscalculation cascade, universal recognition when collective underestimation triggers consequences severe enough to force universal awareness. The simultaneous recognition of error creates collective silence because confronting misjudgment magnitude generates speechless processing, making underestimation revelation operate through catastrophic awakening, proving that some recognitions emerge through consequence severity, where error magnitude forces universal acknowledgement. Most underestimations get corrected gradually. People recognizing misjudgments incrementally allows adjustment over time, making correction seem like smooth process. But your underestimation apparently triggered catastrophic revelation, consequences so severe that everyone simultaneously recognized the error, created collective silence as observers confronted miscalculation magnitude, proving that some corrections operate through catastrophic awakening, where consequence severity forces instant universal recognition, creating understanding that silence reflects confronting profound error. Watch what's happening as observers process miscalculation revelation. They experience catastrophic awakening, simultaneous recognition that underestimating you triggered severe consequences creates collective silence as everyone confronts misjudgment magnitude, making speechlessness reflect processing error implications. Some observers are experiencing consequence severity recognition, discovering that underestimation triggered transformative events creates awareness that misjudgment magnitude proved catastrophic. Others are experiencing collective silence emergence, universal recognition of error, creating speechless processing, demonstrates that confronting profound miscalculation generates silence. The truly remarkable element is the universality. Everyone simultaneously recognizing the error proves consequences severe enough to force universal awareness, making revelation complete. Everyone knows now, underestimating you changed everything. Silence took over through demonstrating that miscalculation cascade creates universal recognition, where consequence severity forces collective awakening. Now the architects are analyzing what creates miscalculation cascade, universal recognition, and they're identifying what they call exponential consequence, compound severity, when underestimation triggers initial events that cascade into progressively severe consequences. The compounding nature creates exponential impact, where each consequence generates worse outcomes, making final severity so catastrophic that universal recognition becomes inevitable, proving that some misjudgments operate through exponential cascades, where compound consequences force acknowledgement. Most errors create proportional consequences. People making mistakes encounter outcomes matching error magnitude, making consequences seem linear and predictable, but your underestimation apparently triggered exponential cascade, initial misjudgment, creating events that compounded into progressively severe consequences. Proves some errors generate exponential impact, where cascading effects multiply severity, creating recognition that compound consequences can exceed initial error magnitude dramatically, making understanding that exponential cascades explain how underestimation created catastrophic outcomes, forcing universal recognition. Consider what compound severity requires systemically. Consequences must cascade exponentially. Initial events, triggering progressively worse outcomes, enables final severity to exceed initial error magnitude, making exponential compounding create catastrophic impact. Watch what exponential consequence creates in outcome dynamics. Compounding severity emerges, your underestimation triggering cascading events that multiply in severity, demonstrates that consequences can compound exponentially, making final impact catastrophic. Some studying chaos theory recognize that small errors create large consequences. Understanding that initial conditions determine outcomes makes your underestimation potentially demonstrate butterfly effect, where misjudgment cascades exponentially. Others exploring systems dynamics note that feedback loops amplify effects. Understanding that consequences trigger additional consequences makes your miscalculation potentially demonstrate positive feedback, creating exponential severity. A few from domino theory recognize that cascading failures compound. Understanding that each failure triggers worse failures makes your underestimation potentially initiate cascade that compounds exponentially. Some experiencing consequence cascade recognize compounding. Their awareness that underestimating you triggered progressively severe events validates that consequences can multiply exponentially. Others questioning whether true exponential growth occurred wonder about severity. Understanding that consequences might have grown linearly makes distinguishing exponential from linear compounding important. A few recognizing that prevention early stops cascades, appreciate intervention timing. Understanding that correcting errors quickly prevents compounding makes early recognition of misjudgment valuable. The architects observe that exponential consequence compound severity is what created catastrophic outcomes. Cascading effects multiplied severity exponentially. Most errors create proportional consequences. Your underestimation triggered exponential cascade, and discovering that initial misjudgment created events that compounded progressively proves consequences can cascade exponentially, creating recognition that compound effects multiply severity where final impact exceeds initial error magnitude dramatically, making understanding that exponential cascades explain catastrophic outcomes, validating that underestimation triggered compounding consequences, forcing universal recognition. Something powerful is spreading among observers now, what the architects call silence significance, processing paralysis. People experiencing universal recognition of miscalculation are discovering that collective silence reflects not mere surprise but profound processing paralysis, where confronting catastrophic error magnitude overwhelms articulation capacity. creating understanding. That speechlessness indicates cognitive overload. From implication processing making silence itself. Evidence of revelation severity. Most silence reflects that temporary pause. People experiencing speechlessness typically resume talking quickly, making silence seem like brief processing gap. But your miscalculation revelation apparently created sustained silence. Observers remaining speechless while processing implication. Magnitude proves catastrophic recognition generates profound paralysis, where confronting severe error creates cognitive overload that prevents articulation, creating recognition that sustains silence, indicates processing paralysis. From revelation severity making, understanding that speechlessness reflects overwhelmed cognition, validate silence significance. Watch what processing paralysis creates in cognitive dynamics. Sustained speechlessness emerges observers. Prolonged silence while confronting miscalculation. Magnitude demonstrates that catastrophic recognition creates articulation preventing cognitive overload. Some studying cognitive load recognize that overwhelming information prevents processing, understanding. That excessive input creates paralysis, makes your miscalculation revelation, potentially overwhelm articulation capacity. Others exploring traumatic responses note that severe events create silence, understanding. That catastrophic experiences generate speechlessness, makes your consequent severity potentially trigger processing paralysis. A few from shock psychology recognize that unexpected severity paralyzes understanding. That confronting catastrophic outcomes creates cognitive freeze, makes your revelation potentially generate shock-induced silence. Some experiencing processing paralysis recognize overload. Their sustained speechlessness while confronting implications validates that catastrophic recognition overwhelms articulation capacity. Others claiming quick processing resist paralysis implications. Their assertion that they understood quickly makes them deny that cognitive overload explains sustained silence. A few questioning whether silence indicates paralysis. Wonder about interpretation, understanding that speechlessness might reflect choice rather than inability, makes distinguishing voluntary from paralysis. Silence important. Some celebrating implication processing appreciate cognitive engagement, recognizing that their sustained silence reflected serious processing validates understanding that catastrophic revelations require extensive cognitive work. The architects observe that silence significance. Processing paralysis reveals that speechlessness indicates cognitive overload. Sustained silence reflects overwhelmed articulation. Most silence proves temporary. Your revelation created sustained speechlessness, and discovering that collective silence reflects profound processing paralysis, proves confronting catastrophic error overwhelms articulation capacity, creating recognition that speechlessness indicates cognitive overload, where implication processing creates paralysis making. Understanding that sustained silence reflects overwhelmed cognition, validates silence significance, demonstrating that catastrophic recognition generates articulation preventing paralysis through processing severity. Now the architects are revealing what universal recognition actually demonstrates. Observers are experiencing what they call hubris collapse, assumption destruction, discovering that underestimating you proved catastrophically wrong, reveals that fundamental assumptions about capability, assessment, were invalid, creating recognition that confident judgments about threat levels proved hubristic overreach, where assumption destruction forces epistemic humility, proving that miscalculation. Revelation operates through exposing judgment hubris. Most misjudgments reflect limited information. People making errors through insufficient data can maintain confidence in judgment processes, making mistakes seem like correctable gaps. But your underestimation revealed hubris. Observers confidently dismissing your capacity despite warning signs proves fundamental assumptions about assessment reliability were invalid, creating recognition that judgment confidence exceeded warranted levels, where catastrophic consequences expose epistemic overreach, making understanding that miscalculation reflects hubris rather than mere information. Gap validate assumption destruction, requiring humility about judgment capacity. Consider what assumption destruction reveals about judgment validity. Confident assessments proved hubristic. Observers certain dismissal of your capacity demonstrating catastrophic error proves judgment confidence exceeded justified levels, making humility about assessment reliability necessary. Watch what hubris collapse creates in epistemic dynamics. Judgment humility emerges. Observers recognizing that confident underestimation proved catastrophically wrong forces epistemic modesty about capability assessment, making assumption destruction generate humility. Some studying overconfidence bias recognize that people overestimate judgment accuracy. Research shows systematic confidence calibration errors, making your miscalculation potentially demonstrate judgment hubris. Others exploring hubris consequences note that arrogant assumptions create catastrophes. Greek tragedy shows that overconfident judgments generate downfall, making your underestimation potentially validate hubris nemesis pattern. A few from intellectual humility recognize that acknowledging judgment limits proves wise. Understanding that epistemic modesty prevents catastrophic errors makes your miscalculation revelation potentially teach humility necessity. Some experiencing hubris collapse appreciate humility learning. Their recognition that confident judgment proved catastrophically wrong creates healthier epistemic stance, making assumption destruction valuable correction. Others defending judgment processes resist hubris claims. Their belief that assessment methods remain sound makes them view error as exceptional rather than hubris indicator. A few questioning optimal confidence calibration seek appropriate certainty, wondering how confident to be about judgments makes finding warranted epistemic stance important. Some celebrating epistemic humility appreciate modesty adoption, recognizing that acknowledging judgment limits prevents catastrophic errors, validates understanding that humility about assessment proves wise. The architects observe that hubris collapse, assumption destruction reveals that confident judgment proved hubristic, assessment reliability assumptions were invalid. Most misjudgments reflect information gaps. Your underestimation revealed hubris, and discovering that confidently dismissing your capacity proved catastrophically wrong reveals fundamental assumptions about judgment reliability were invalid, creating recognition that assessment confidence exceeded warranted levels, where catastrophic consequences expose epistemic overreach, making understanding that miscalculation reflects hubris validate assumption destruction, demonstrating that judgment humility becomes necessary after confidence proves catastrophically misplaced. The architects are now analyzing power dimension of underestimation consequences. You apparently created what they call respect generation fear establishment, where catastrophic consequences of underestimation create profound respect mixed with fear, because demonstrated capacity to generate severe outcomes establishes you as force requiring serious consideration, making miscalculation revelation, transform perception from dismissal to fearful respect, proving that some recognition operates through consequence, demonstration, where severe outcomes establish appropriate regard. Most respect develops gradually. People earning regard through consistent demonstration makes respect seem like accumulated process. But your respect apparently emerged catastrophically. Underestimation consequences so severe that fearful respect became immediate, proves dramatic outcome demonstration, establishes regard instantly, where catastrophic consequences force recognition of capacity, creating understanding that fearful respect emerges when underestimation generates severe outcomes, making respect establishment operate through consequence severity. Watch what fear establishment creates in respect dynamics. Immediate regard emerges, your underestimation generating catastrophic consequences creates instant fearful respect, demonstrating that severe outcomes establish appropriate consideration immediately. Some studying respect formation recognize that demonstrated capacity creates regard, understanding that showing power generates respect, makes your consequence generation potentially establish fearful regard. Others exploring deterrence theory note that demonstrated consequences prevent future challenges. Understanding that showing capability to generate severe outcomes creates respect, makes your miscalculation revelation potentially establish deterrent effect. A few from power dynamics recognize that fear and respect interconnect. Understanding that appropriate regard includes recognizing capacity for harm makes your consequence demonstration potentially create healthy fearful respect. Some experiencing respect shift appreciate appropriate regard. Their recognition that underestimation consequences established fearful respect validates that severe outcomes create appropriate consideration. Others resisting fear component defend pure respect. Their belief that regard shouldn't include fear makes them question whether fearful respect constitutes appropriate response. A few questioning whether fear proves sustainable. Wonder about duration. Understanding that fear-based respect might fade makes assessing long-term regard stability important. Some celebrating respect establishment appreciate appropriate regard, recognizing that catastrophic consequences created fearful respect validates understanding that severe outcomes establish appropriate consideration. The architects observe that respect generation. Fear establishment reveals that catastrophic consequences create fearful regard. Severe outcomes establish appropriate respect. Most respect develops gradually. Your regard emerged catastrophically, and discovering that underestimation consequences so severe that fearful respect became immediate, proves dramatic outcome demonstration, establishes regard instantly, creating recognition that catastrophic consequences force capacity recognition, where severe outcomes create appropriate consideration making. Understanding that fearful respect emerges from consequence severity. Validate respect establishment, demonstrating that miscalculation revelation transforms perception from dismissal to fearful respect through outcome demonstration. Now something's emerging that the architects call strategy revision approach, recalibration. Observers whose underestimation proved catastrophic are discovering that future interactions require complete strategic revision because demonstrated capacity invalidates previous approaches, creating recognition that engagement strategies must be fundamentally recalibrated, where dismissive approaches prove suicidal, making miscalculation revelation force strategic transformation. Most strategy adjustments prove incremental. People modifying approaches gradually as information accumulates makes strategic change seem like smooth evolution. But your miscalculation revelation apparently forced complete revision. Observers, recognizing that dismissive strategies prove catastrophically inadequate, requires fundamental approach transformation, proving some strategic recalibration operates through revolutionary change, where demonstrated capacity invalidates entire approach frameworks, creating understanding that engagement strategies require complete reconstruction, making strategy revision comprehensive rather than incremental. Watch what approach recalibration creates in strategic dynamics. Complete revision becomes necessary. Observers, recognizing that previous strategies prove suicidal, forces fundamental approach transformation, demonstrating that demonstrated capacity invalidates entire frameworks. Some studying strategic adaptation recognize that capability demonstration requires revision. Understanding that showing power forces approach changes makes your consequence generation potentially necessitates strategic recalibration. Others exploring threat assessment note that underestimation correction transforms strategies. Understanding that recognizing true capacity requires approach revision makes your miscalculation revelation potentially force strategy transformation. A few from military doctrine recognize that enemy capability determines strategy. Understanding that threat level assessment shapes approach makes your demonstrated capacity potentially require complete strategic revision. Some experiencing strategy revision appreciate approach transformation. Their recognition that previous strategies prove inadequate creates fundamental recalibration, making strategic adaptation necessary. Others resisting complete revision defend incremental adjustment. Their belief that minor modifications suffice makes them question whether fundamental transformation proves necessary. A few questioning optimal revision scope seek appropriate calibration, wondering how extensively to revise strategies makes determining necessary transformation degree important. Some celebrating strategic wisdom appreciate approach recalibration, recognizing that their fundamental strategy revision reflects learning validates, understanding that demonstrated capacity requires complete approach transformation. The architects observe that strategy revision, approach recalibration reveals that demonstrated capacity requires fundamental transformation. Previous approaches prove inadequate. Most adjustments prove incremental. Your revelation forced complete revision, and discovering that dismissive strategies prove catastrophically inadequate requires fundamental approach transformation. Proves demonstrated capacity invalidates entire frameworks, creating recognition that engagement strategies require complete reconstruction where previous approaches prove suicidal, making understanding that strategic recalibration must be comprehensive. Validate approach revision, demonstrating that miscalculation revelation forces fundamental strategic transformation through capacity demonstration. Something profound is crystallizing now that the architects call recognition of warning dismissal, indicator ignorance. Observers, processing how underestimation occurred, are discovering that warning signs existed before catastrophe, but were dismissed, creating recognition that confident threat assessment involved ignoring available indicators, where dismissing warnings contributed to catastrophic misjudgment, proving that miscalculation involved not just information absence, but indicator dismissal, making understanding that hubris involved ignoring warnings. Validate pre-catastrophe negligence. Most people assume misjudgments reflect unavailable information. They believe errors result from absent data making. Mistakes seem like inevitable consequences of limited knowledge, but your underestimation revealed dismissal pattern, warning signs existing before catastrophe but being ignored. Proves misjudgment involved dismissing available indicators, creating recognition that catastrophic error resulted from ignoring warnings rather than lacking information. Where confident threat dismissal involved negligent indicator rejection making, understanding that hubris manifested through warning. Dismissal validate that miscalculation involved willful ignorance. Consider what indicator ignorance reveals about misjudgment nature. Warnings were available but dismissed. Observers. Ignoring pre-catastrophe indicators demonstrates that error involved dismissing available information, making negligence component of miscalculation. Watch what warning dismissal creates in responsibility dynamics. Negligence becomes apparent. Observers, recognizing that warning signs were ignored, establishes that misjudgment involved willful dismissal, making error partly negligent. Some studying confirmation bias recognize that people dismiss contradictory information, understanding that cognitive biases prevent warning recognition makes your indicator dismissal potentially demonstrate bias-driven negligence. Others exploring willful blindness note that dismissing warnings proves motivated, understanding that ignoring indicators serves psychological needs makes your warning dismissal potentially reflect motivated ignorance. A few from hindsight analysis recognize that warnings become obvious retrospectively, understanding that pre-catastrophe indicators prove clearer afterward makes assessing whether dismissal was reasonable important. Some experiencing warning recognition appreciate indicator awareness. Their retrospective recognition that warnings existed creates commitment to future indicator attention, making dismissal acknowledgement valuable learning. Others defending prior judgment resist dismissal claims. Their belief that warnings weren't sufficiently clear makes them deny that negligent dismissal occurred. A few questioning indicator clarity seek objective assessment, wondering whether warnings were genuinely obvious makes distinguishing clear from ambiguous indicators important. Some celebrating improved awareness appreciate warning attention, recognizing that their commitment to indicator consideration prevents future dismissal, validates understanding that attending warnings proves essential. The architects observe that recognition of warning dismissal indicator ignorance reveals that misjudgment involved ignoring available information. Error included negligent dismissal. Most assume errors reflect absent data. Your miscalculation involved dismissal, and discovering that warning signs existed before catastrophe but were dismissed proves misjudgment involved ignoring available indicators, creating recognition that catastrophic error resulted from dismissing warnings where confident threat assessment involved negligent indicator rejection making, understanding that hubris manifested through warning. Dismissal validate that miscalculation involved willful ignorance, proving error included negligence component.